Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to another ESO video. There's some controversy going over my build. A lot of people don't understand the rotation, the DPS that it can have, stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and do a test dummy on the trials dummy for you guys to kind of show you like where it's at, what it does. I did respec champion points. I'll just go over those before we do anything. We'll just start over here with the ritual. So I do put 75 in the thaumaturge, just so we get the passive up here, exploiter. Increasing our damage done by 10% against enemies off balance, which our wall of elements does a lot for us. So that's why I have 75 here in this ritual to get that 10% buff. So here with our staff expert and master at arms, I went ahead and put 16% on staff expert, 18% on master at arms, and up here we also unlocked butcher by having 75 in the atronach as well. This is going to increase our damage done with our light and heavy attacks by 5% to enemies below 25% health. So we get that little bit increased damage against the enemies under 25% health, which is awesome. Over here, I went ahead and did 21% with our crit damage and healing, with our magic abilities by 21%. Our elemental experts at 11%, increasing our shock damage and magic damage. And then spell erosion, anything over 1,000 will be good. So 10 points in here for spell erosion is good. Now we'll go over here. So I like to have treasure hunter on my characters. So obviously we need 75 in here. I don't block a whole lot, so 4% for my blocking is pretty good. And then our roll dodging will be 22%. So we'll come over here. So this is what I found out. I had 14% on both of these at like 90 and 90, somewhere around there. And then someone told me that anything over 14%, it doesn't matter. It's going to be 14%. So they told me to go ahead and just bump it down to 14% exactly. And we'll just use the extra to put in here to 15% to increase that a little bit by our fully charged heavy attacks or sword magic back. And then over here we had 20 extra ones that we took out of Arcanist. And then we'll just put it in the, when we deal light or heavy attacks, we're decreasing the enemy's health, magic, stamina, resource, and restored by recovery. So just for a little bit of something extra there. Over here, this is where I kind of had to mess up too. So we bumped these up to 56, so just over 12% for Hardy and Elemental Defender. And then 26 for the 11% on our Thick Skinned. And then Ironclad, reducing our damage taken against damaged attacks by 25%, and our spell resistance by 28-38. I might mess around with these a little bit and take more off Ironclad, put more into Spell Shield, just get that spell resistance up. But anyway, that's the champion's points respect for me. With the skills, a lot of people didn't understand rotation, stuff like that. So our Storm Calling passive down here, increasing our weapon and spell damage by 2% for each sorcerer ability slotted. Our current bonus is 10%. So what that means is we have 5 abilities on here. That's why I put the Greater Storm Atronach on the front bar, just to get that extra 2% damage buff. We don't really use Storm Atronach unless it's a situational thing where we're fighting maybe a boss that moves around a lot. We can pop this rather than the Thunderous Storm. For that AoE damage, we can use this if the boss moves around a lot, like I said. So the front bar, we have Inner Light and Bound Aegis that we don't even use. They just sit on the bar for the passives. So by having Inner Light slotted, our max magic is increased by 5%. We're gaining Major Prophecy, increasing our spell crit rating by 2191. And then our Bound Aegis increase our max magic by 8% and giving us that Minor Resolve, increasing our physical and spell resistances by 1320. And then we got Tormentor and the Familiar on both bars. So the Familiar will give us that shock damage when we activate them, dealing 2872 shock damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, and then stunning anyone for 3 seconds after the final pulse goes off. And then our Tormentor obviously does that 53% more damage to enemies above 50% health for 15 seconds. Then Hardened Ward I use, we won't use it on the dummy, we won't need it. But that's there to kind of survivability purposes when we're fighting groups of ads, bosses, stuff like that fight back. Our back bar is where most of our stuff gets popped. So our Crit Surge will activate this. This lasts for 33 seconds, increasing our spell damage by 20%. Anytime that we do crit damage, it heals us for 3,300 health every 1 second, which is pretty cool. The Blockade of Storms. This goes hand in hand with the Vet Maelstrom Lightning Staff. So when we slam that staff down to create that barrier in front of us, dealing 1233 shock damage to enemies in the target area for 1 second, setting concussed enemies off balance for 7 seconds. That's where that off balance DPS 10% comes from that passive on Thaumaturge in the blue for the ritual, I believe it was. And then also with the staff, we're also getting, when that's down, we're also getting the damage buff here. So your light and heavy attacks do an additional 1341 damage to enemies in the Wall of Elements. So that's why we have that going. And then obviously I told you about the 2 pets on both bars. We'll activate those. And then the last one, we got the Boundless Storm. So while we got this active, we're gonna be dealing 931 shock damage every 1 second for 23 seconds. And then also giving us that physical resistance, spell resistance by 5280. And then after activating, we also get that movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. So I think it's higher than 931 shock damage when we're on the front bar while that's active. I think it goes over to 1,000. So that's, and then obviously our Thunderous Rage. So that's why I run this. Alright, so now we have the skills, the champion points down. I'll show you guys the rotation, what it looks like on a Trials dummy. It's fairly simple, as you'll be able to see here. We just want to get the Wall of Elements down, make sure our Crit Surge, our Boundless Storm, and our 2 pets are active. We'll do a few heavy attacks, switch, get the Boundless Storm, or the Elemental Storm down again, the blockade. Make sure our Tormentor's active again, a couple heavy attacks. There's the Boundless Storm that just ran out. We'll switch back to that. You can also use Spell Pots. I'm going to run Spell Pots in this one, just to dumb it down a little bit quicker. Just to show you guys the potential that this has. That's pretty much all it is. It's just a bunch of heavy attacks, as you can see. So heavy attack, familiar, heavy attack. Make sure you switch the Elemental Blockade down. More heavy attacks, make sure your Tormentor's active. It's just a couple rotations and then a bunch of heavy attacking, guys. That's all it really comes down to. So it's not hard to learn, it's not hard to do at all. Fairly simple, and it's got good DPS, good survivability as well. Like I said, this isn't going to go for like 70k. I'm not pushing for 70k. It's more just heavy attacking, easy rotation for those that have a hard time kind of struggling with it. There's heavy attack builds out there that make it a lot easier to just do DPS with and have fun with. The simplicity of it is what I love. It's not overcomplicated. You're not having to pop a whole lot of things. So. Like I said, if you pay attention to the numbers, I told you guys with the Boundless Storm being active, I don't ever see any like 800s. I think it's over 1,000 that shock damage does on the main bar for the Boundless Storm, which is awesome. And then after 50%, we've also 50%. Obviously, the Tormentor no longer applies or does that extra DPS for us. That's just one less thing on the rotation bar we have to worry about, which makes it even easier to use, which is awesome. Basically from here on out, it's just a bunch of heavy attacking, making sure Crit Surge and Boundless Storm are active while you heavy attack, and that's pretty much the gist of it. And then Spell Pots, if you guys can remember to use them. I always forget from time to time to use them, so. But I'm trying to get better at it, so. see I just hit like a lag spike right there. That sucks, but no worries. Like I said, we're not going for like a 70k, 80k parsing. It's just the rotation, the heavy skill. The Infall Aether, we're missing 8% DPS. The Infall Aether doesn't proc on this guy. I'm not sure why. You guys can let me know in the comments. Because I really honestly don't know why that is, but I feel like we're missing that 8% DPS, which obviously makes no difference, not a whole lot. Like you see, just easy rotation, lots of heavy attacking. That's pretty much all this build is. So we got 49, 542, almost 50,000 right there. 6 minutes 40 seconds, not too bad. So about 50k. And like I said, the Infall Aether, that 8% wasn't proccing, so obviously that 8% does proc. Obviously we'll hit over 50k with it. So it's a 50k build. You can run it in trials, dungeons, arenas. But anyway, guys, that's it. So 50k, DPS, lots of heavy attacking. That's the build, and that's the rotation with champion points. Any questions, leave in the comments. I'm happy to get back to you guys, answer any questions you guys have. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys have a great day.